So USF, so she's happy with that. So
Mr. Mayor.
anything else?
Live. There was another one up in northern Michigan Tech, which is like northern Michigan, out in Michigan, which is more of a.
Why did she apply now?
Because Ethan did, and he thought she might get a free beanie, so he peer pressured her into applying. So she heard back like within a week, like after. She's not going to do it.
So what's still the top
You
dog?
have Georgia Tech.
When are they going to make their decision?
Georgia Tech maybe in January, early December, or
Okay.
like first wave.
Early.
And then it'll be rolling, and then February for US.
Okay. All
So,
right.
and then there's other ones, yeah. And there's a couple other ones a bunch of other ones sprinkled in there.
Right.
Those are probably.
All right, everybody. Good evening. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to play musical chairs.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Changes to the agenda. Is anybody here for sea grapes? Anyone? Anyone? All right. That's been pulled because the Public Works wasn't able to directly contact DEP today to get more clarification. So that will not be on the discussion tonight. You're free to stay. You're free to go. Whatever you want to do. Are there any other changes?
No, sir.
All right. So we have a swap out of council members tonight. Stu?
Yes.
After how many years?
14.
14 years, stepping down. And Lauren is taking a seat on the side, and I'm sure we'll still be active. So we'll do the oath of office for John Brady and Carrie Foy.
You want to do to the old council?
Yeah. We have gifts, parting gifts like Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. Cancellation prizes.
Lauren, we'll get a picture.
Got all 14 years on your effing hair.
We want to do pictures?
If you want, I'd love one with you.
All three together?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, let's order together. You mind?
Lauren, do you have any thoughts? Do you have any? Stu, you have anything to say? We're all set. Carrie, how about we do Carrie first?
Appreciate you following the law of gravity.
Yeah, thanks.
Use the vacuum. Dust.
please. Repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Carrie Foy,
do solemnly
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will
defend, and protect
support, defend, and protect
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
and of the town of Indialantic,
and of the town of Indialantic.
and that I will bear true faith,
I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
and that I am entitled to hold office
and I am entitled to hold office
under the Indialantic Charter and Code of Ordinances,
under the Indialantic Charter and Code of Ordinances,
that I will
faithfully perform all the duties
of town council member
of town council member
on behalf of the town of Indialantic, Florida,
on behalf of the town of Indialantic, Florida,
on which I am about to enter,
on which I'm about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Hey, you can have a seat up there. It's official.
Nice, huh?
We're gonna have to work on back.
I'll say you get back.
Yeah, well, okay.
All righty. You all set? All set. All right, great. If you'll raise your right hand. I, and state your name,
I, John Brady,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
and of the town of Indialantic,
and the town of Indialantic,
that I will bear true
that I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
that I am entitled to hold office
that I'm entitled to hold office
under the Indialantic Charter and Code of Ordinances,
under the Indialantic Code of Charter and Ordinances,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
all the duties of town council member
all the duties of town council member
on behalf of the town of Indialantic, Florida,
on behalf of the town of Indialantic,
on which I am about to enter,
on which I'm about to enter.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So welcome, John. Welcome, Carrie.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Election of deputy mayor. I'm going to nominate Doug. Discussion? Okay, good. Good. I had a feeling. Carrie, any comment on that? Done. Brett? All right. All those in favor of voting for Doug Wright to be the deputy mayor of Indialantic, Florida, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see, mayor's nomination, Space Coast League of Cities voting delegate and alternate. John, I know you expressed a little bit of interest. Does anybody else have any interest? All right, I'll nominate John.
Accept.
I'll second the nomination.
Carrie, comment?
All for it.
All right, Brett. All right, all those in favor of John Brady being the Space Coast League of Cities voting delegate and alternate, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, unanimous. And the mayor's nomination for South Beach Coalition representative and alternate. I'll leave that to you guys. Anybody want to do that? Anyone?
Can you tell me what it is?
No, I have no idea.
It's the South Beaches, we have one position on TPO that we all represent because of being in smaller cities and stuff, and we rotate through the cities. I don't know who's the representative, but we get together, and they have quorum very rarely, to talk about anything on the TPO coming up. Beach side.
TPO is the transportation.
Safety,
Planning.
Yes,
Planning organization for the county.
Does anyone want to do it?
It's,
by the way, just so you know.
that's,
TPO
daytime is
meetings.
hard for me to make the meeting, so it's.
Okay, well, I'm retired, so I'm happy to do it.
All right, well, appreciate you stepping up. Do we need to,
I'll nominate Carrie.
all right, a second? Anyone? All right, all those in favor of Carrie Foy being the South Beach Coalition Representative and alternate, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right. Public comments for non-agenda items. Anybody here for the Sea Grapes that want to speak to that tonight? No? All right. Any other comment for items not? Let's see. Yeah, so that's all the 24th Avenue. All right. Oh, Bob Lowe. Yeah, that's fine.
Just make sure that you tell them about their Miranda rights.
And we'll need your name and your address, please.
Live at 419 3rd Avenue. I would like to thank Town Manager Mike Casey for meeting with me and two of my neighbors yesterday. I love that this issue can be resolved. I would also like to thank the Indialantic Police Department and Chief Connor. The officers we deal with this have been patient, professional, sympathetic. I asked the administrators and town council last month and its many code violations. I'm not here this evening to talk about cars as regarding the residential professional. That my neighbor, I'm disheartened by the time that has been stolen from my life. I guarantee that none of you would want this going on behind your home. None of you would put it because the Indialantic prohibits it. In the code, at the conclusion of a list of professional accidents zone in which the yard sits, is the addition of mental objectionable to the community. The code continues, noise level from operation shall be no noise resulting from or in connection with the use perceptible from any part of any residential district. The noise amplified due to the echoes off nearby buildings emanating from Indy Yard is annoying and intrusive. Of what sounds like heavy weights being dropped on the ground. The amount and volume of the noise, however, should be irrelevant. Prohibits any noise originating from a business in a residential professional zone. The use of professional property shall not be otherwise detrimental, objectionable, or annoying to or occupants of nearby property. E.g., to set, I get knots in my stomach, wondering if there will be a class that night or if I will have to call the police once again. On evening, that I move from my family room at the back of my home to another room located at the front to get away from the noise. Noise that, again, is prohibited according to the code. The lights come on at Indy Yard each morning at 40, including the entire back of my home is washed in the glare. This is a violation of code subsection 2C, no glare resulting from or in connection with the observable from outside the boundaries of the RP district, in this case, my back fence. I invite anyone from the town government who has not yet visited my home to do so. I want you to experience what I experience. You can join on my back porch where I sit in the evening and early morning to enjoy the peaceful darkness and calm of my backyard. You need to see the lights that emanate from Indy Yard and witness the noise during a class. Noise that can be heard from my front yard and 3rd Avenue itself. It may help if you would like to visit, before you visit, to visit the Indy Yard website at crhealthandwellness.com. The Indialantic Code of Ordinance was written for a reason.
Ms. Ledoux, are we wrapping it up soon?
Yes, the last
Okay.
paragraph.
All right.
The Indialantic Code of Ordinance was written for a reason, for this exact type of situation in which a business located in the residential professional zone is infringing upon the rights of nearby residents. The code is a promise from the residents and businesses of the town that we will abide by these rules. But it is also a promise from the town that the town will enforce these ordinances and act if they are violated. My neighbors and I have fulfilled our promise to the town. Respect the ordinances and abide by them. Please fulfill your promise to us and protect us from India.
Thank you. Who's next? All right.
My name's Courtney. I live at 431 3rd Avenue, and the Sierra Wellness property is behind my house and to the east. Sherry covered all the portions of the topics that we want you guys to have a look at, review. It seems to us like there has been an error, and so we'd like the whole situation reviewed and hopefully correct the error if the review indicates what we think. So just, and I'm going to not use my time so that we get back on track for you guys, but I made copies just to make sure we're all about the same code. Some of the confusion we seem to be getting back is that there's often portions to the Indialantic Code that refer to the same thing, and I'll use example of noise. There is a portion of the Indialantic Code which is all-encompassing about, it basically deals with several specific issues, noise at night between certain hours, which probably refers more to what the police are used to dealing with bars and restaurants. It refers to construction noise during the day. It refers to vehicular noise, and it has in it that talks about how to measure noise. That seems to be getting used in this circumstance, and we would refer you to what I just handed to you about noise, where it very specifically then dig deeper into the code. It very specifically states that no noise will come out of a professional business that can be heard in the adjacent residence. I'd like you guys to take a look at, and the one question I had for you is what is the council's role in this process?
It's a code enforcement issue. At this point, we're kind of out of it. Is my understanding correct, Paul?
Yes.
And so what's that? How does this proceed?
So it's a code enforcement issue, as the mayor has indicated. If they need identified to modify the code, then that would be where the council steps in. We believe that there's a code that needs to be amended.
And if there's a need to enforce the code,
then we speak to the town manager and his staff.
Before it goes to code enforcement, it goes to the code officer, which is also our building inspector, and that's Mr. Stokes.
okay.
And then if he finds a violation, he'll notice it, and then that's when it would go before the code enforcement board.
I didn't mean to lie to you on the time.
That's
So
all right.
last question then is how do we track the process? Is there a timeline, or is there something that we can follow so that we understand the progress is being made?
Mike?
So as I explained to him, the process, like I said, they concerns that I'm having to speak with Joe Colombo, the code enforcement attorney. He provided, as I explained yesterday, about the violations and stuff where he's at, but the new items, and I'll ask him where that is. I'm playing phone tag with him. I'm hoping to have an answer by the end of the week, like I told him yesterday. But not a fast process. Even if they're finding violation with a 30-day notice, we have to follow due process. It goes before the code board. They could find one way or the other. It's a qualified judicial board. And as of the stuff yesterday with what Cliff had spoken to him about, I haven't spoken to Joe Colombo at all, personally. I've just emailed back and forth. That, based upon the information that he was given by Cliff, there was nothing to prosecute. Now, I'm going to bring up their new concerns in the RP thing to them and stuff like that.
Okay. Not right now. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, what I'm saying is it's not an overnight process. We'll
Right.
hopefully have an answer by the end of the week from Joe and then decide how we have to move forward, but I would let them know. I
Sure.
was in contact with him. the other
And
day.
we understand there's a process. We know this isn't a tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, thank you very
All
much
right,
for your
thank
time.
you.
We appreciate it.
All right, who's next? Sure.
There's one thing I'd like to clarify that's relevant to this matter, and another one that we'll be addressing later this evening. When you go online and you look up our code, the website that I'm sure 95% of people are using is municode.com. For whatever reason, they haven't updated it yet. The section on noise, that's not accurate. That has been replaced. We, it was a month period that we worked through this, and we redrafted noise. We did a repeat replace, and so we redrafted, and that section. Yeah, but it's not accurate. We can probably email or put on our website or something the current noise.
I think it's there.
It's there.
It's there.
If you go to the first page, there's under ordinances adopted, not yet codified.
Okay.
There's a section there that says that it has all the ordinances not been added yet.
Okay. On Municode or on our website?
Unicode. When you first click like the link from Indialantic.com and go to it, it has adopted ordinances and not yet codified. I'm looking at it right now, actually.
Good.
So it's not in the code, but there is a section that shows.
There's a section that
Okay.
on the website for Municode.
Okay.
I don't know if it's appropriate to show these photos, but this is the back of Sherry's house.
Yeah, we'll need your name and address though first.
Patty Gonzalez. I reside at
Oh.
401 6th Avenue, and I also own
Yeah.
431 3rd Avenue. Been here almost 50 years.
Hold on
This
one
is my
second.
first town council in 50 years.
Well,
Pretty
welcome.
good.
Yeah. Hold on one second. We're getting clarification on the photos.
I can show you.
Yeah, I guess we would need a copy of those for the
Okay.
record, so would emailing,
I
Is that the
sent
same one
them-
you emailed me
Yes,
yesterday?
I sent
Okay.
them to you, and I wasn't sure if they were privy to those
I
photos.
didn't, no,
Okay,
we
because
can't
that
have
really shows,
I can forward them.
it shows a lot, yeah. So I just want to address one thing about this mainly, is that on the local tax receipt for their CR Wellness, that's what it is, CR Wellness, professional services, and it says, notice, operation of a business in the town of Indialantic requires compliance with zoning regulations and other ordinances and laws. A local business tax represents payment of a tax. Okay, it does not grant a vested right or other right to operate any use of the business location that is not inconsistent with the town zoning and regulations or ordinances or laws, the zoning, building, fire, safety requirements, yada, yada. So my concern, honestly, is that he has 3 permits. One, he had his license, he had a permit issued on April 19th for a 6-foot fence, which was a side fence. And then on November 26th, there were 2 permits. And it says on the permit that started without permit. So I guess it went back. And one was for a 3 by 4 foot sign, the other one was for a 10 by 7 plastic shed, okay? So then on the website, he lists infrared sauna, cold plunge pool, outdoor vitamin C, heated showers, outdoor massage, outdoor fitness classes with membership to the above. A rope is hanging from the tree so one can climb up this rope. There's weight racks, there's a small trampoline, there's a fire pit, there's a small water feature, there's a water fountain. And my main concern about this is that it's a fitness center. People are coming and going, they're having classes, and I think that the town fathers have been strongly misled as to what CR Wellness was planning, because it says professional, it's a fitness center. And my issue with it is if someone gets hurt back there, someone gets injured back there, the city is going to be on the hook for that, because the city is allowing him to operate not within the ordinances and the codes. So every day that this guy has, or this business, I should say, operates these with people climbing and people doing all this stuff that's not in the license that he was granted, the city is liable. I'm concerned because the city's going to be the deep pocket, and, you know, it's just a matter of time. We don't want that to happen, certainly, but if somebody hurts themselves back
back there, we're in trouble. The city of Indialantic's in big trouble.
Paul, do you have any input on that?
No, but that's probably an additional issue for the code prosecutor to look at, is whether or not they're operating consistent with the zoning code.
Yes.
You know, as far as the injury situation is concerned, respectfully, I'd probably disagree as to whether or not the town could be held liable, but it's still an issue to look at.
Yeah, of course, yeah, because, I mean, the town is saying he needs to operate under these laws or these codes and ordinances, and if something happened to someone and he was sued, they could say, well, the town let him do this. The town did not follow up and do their part. The other thing is the health department inspected the infrared sauna, the cold plunge pool he says he has, the outdoor outdoor heated shower. Has the health department inspected this prior to him opening his business? Because he's open, he's running. This stuff is happening. So if the health department has not inspected this, that's a problem too for the city. So those are two big issues.
Those actually are complaints that you can raise too.
Yeah, you know, I've lived here almost 50 years. This is my first town council meeting. This is the first time I have ever in 50 years had to complain about anything. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good town. And the police department and Cliff, you know, I love this town. So you know, for me to go to the health department and try to take somebody out is not my nature. I'm hoping the city does something about this, because it's not within what we as a town have laid down as codes and ordinances for business. I mean, it's not. It's a fitness center, so.
Thank you. Next.
I believe I'm the last one. So my name is Bob Lowe. So I live at 411 3rd Ave. We're catty cornered. Summaries, I've heard these issues. You know, the main things we care about are the noise and the lights, which are clearly in violation of the professional zone ordinance. We would like to, you know, we were told last meeting that there's a process. There'll be written notices or warnings of the violations, and then after that, an enforcement period. Are we able to get copies of what's been sent so we're all on the same page here?
Yeah, it's all public record.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do we need like a special topic meeting to kind of go into this in more detail? And I know we don't have a lot of time here in this setting, but.
That would just be something up with Mike, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that can be done with the Code Enforcement Board as well, just so we make sure we're all
No,
on the same
because the
page?
Code Enforcement Board is a quasi-judicial, so they're going to make a decision, so they would have an open meeting, and it would be up to them. They're like judges. You're not going to go talk to a judge about your case before
Okay.
it's
But
fought.
would we be able to go to those meetings or be,
Meetings are public and open.
how would we be notified of those?
Well, we can keep you informed if there's a meeting there, but it's also posted on our website
So
when
we
there's
just
meetings.
okay, we'll monitor the
Yeah.
website. Okay.
And are there agendas, these agendas? Do we know?
I did auto-sending all decision-making boards. So if you're signed up on the website, it is. If not, it's usually about 2 weeks. But they're not scheduled regularly. They're only scheduled if there is a violation that's being prosecuted, which is a determination made by Mr.
So regarding the noise changes that he brought up, which is what Brian mentioned, and that just shows you part of the confusion, right? Is that we're not talking about that part of the ordinance with the dB levels, and we understand all that was changed. We're talking about the professional noise that says there can't be any. There can't be any noise, there can't be any glare. Because by definition of professional, you want to have peace and quiet in the professional residential neighborhood. So we're interested to make sure that those are the types of violations that are being presented to the business, and, you know, not just things like, you know, or the shed or other things that I've heard, you know. That's really what we want to make sure that is covered. Okay, thank you.
See, Gonsalves? Oh, that was you. All right, I missed that. And Ms. Lowe.
Good morning, afternoon, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm tired.
Just
My
name
name
and
is Kitty
there you
Lowe,
go.
411 3rd Avenue, and that was my husband speaking. And I do have a handout also. I don't know that I have enough. This is
You can give it to them. I'm
okay. You probably already have one.
there's one for the.
That's your zoning right there. Professional, we're right behind the professional.
Yep, absolutely.
This is an original letter I had written when this first started. And that's about 2 months ago now. Nobody's really, to me, taking care of not a lot. I mean, you've probably already seen that, but everybody's heard about, I got nothing now, but I am just, we are at our wits' end right now because this has gone on for over 2 months, and all we keep hearing about is zoning ordinances with car parking and jacuzzis or whatever's back there, but the whole yard is the problem, is not within code. And if you're going to have a code, you guys have to also abide by it. This is something that you wouldn't want in your backyard, even, you would want it for your backyard if you lived on out West Melbourne or something. But that's nothing that belongs in a professional zone. A gym is not a profession. When it started out, he wanted to be there and have people have a code to go in 24/7 behind Sherry's house, next door to my house, well, catty corner to my house. Same with Brian. That's unacceptable. The music, the loudness, the glaring light, it's like our house is glowing, literally glowing at night with that light on. 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, whatever, you wake up, we have to call the police at the morning because waking up at 4 o'clock is not something if you don't have to go to work then. So if you guys could really look into this, I guess I'm assuming you're not in it now. You said you guys aren't in it. Who is in? Just Mike?
Yeah,
And-
it's code enforcement at this point.
Okay.
It's code enforcement and up to the code
Well,
enforcement.
we really would appreciate some progress in this because it's just doing a number on
So if-
people.
If,
It's really hindrance and.
if there's a disagreement, what actions or what are residents able to do? Is there anything? All? You know, if code enforcement says, no, this is all within code, are there any avenues?
Well, there might be a private right of action by the neighbors for, possibly for a nuisance, but you'd have to consult with a private attorney to look at that issue.
And you guys can't do that.
Not if it meets
You
code.
guys can't enforce the ordinance that is in place for a professional residence.
So just walk through
zoning.
so we would get a complaint, we have the code enforcement lawyer, Mr. Colombo, along with the code enforcement officer, review the case in hand, determination as it relates to the code of Indialantic, and if they find it to be in violation, then it's brought to the code board for evaluation and make a determination. If it is found that there is not a violation, then it is not brought to the code board, and there's no further action required. If it is the determination based on that we need to change the code because there is a hole or it's not clear enough legally to allow for an action to be taken, we would.
And how would you change the ordinance of the town, of a zone? You guys would
Well, it would be
just literally
the-
go in and vote that now this is a
there's a-
business instead of a professional?
No, so we would add language to the existing code to further define and refine the allowable and permitted uses within the existing residential professional zone to better define existing potential case here as being not intended use that the town of Indialantic desires, if the existing code is found to be lacking.
Well, it seems like most of this stuff was taken in backyard without anybody knowing it, because I brought this to Cliff's attention a while back, and now Mike has known for a while, but it's not a question of changing
So
the wording. The wording is perfectly acceptable because it says no noise, no lights. It's a professional zone. It's not a gym. Don't have gyms in your backyard.
pardon the language, Paul, but the lawyers have to make the determination, and the way they read the law is potentially different than the way common folk would read the law.
Yeah.
As yourself and
They made it, they
included.
made it that way so the
Fair
layman
enough,
can.
yeah. But don't disagree, don't disagree.
do it.
Don't disagree with anything that you have brought forward. So, You gotta come forward.
Yep.
The photos of the houses.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
Sherry
Sorry, I
Ledoux,
wasn't-
I live at 419 Third Avenue. The pictures show very plainly the light glares, but to witness the noise, Mr. Stowe, there are several police reports, but would he then have to come to my house, class starts at 6 or 6:30, and stand in my backyard and
You call
witness the noise?
You have to, the code enforcement can be performed by a police officer as well.
Oh, okay, so
If you
the
call, in the off hours, they can come witness, or the noise, I guess that's the right term.
okay,
Like I explained yesterday, the police officers are code enforcement officers
okay,
also.
yeah.
So they would serve
Oh,
as
okay.
your witness in
I
that,
see,
in that regard.
I see. And they see the lights and they've seen the noise, so pretty much they've witnessed what needs to be witnessed.
Right, because if somebody stops by at 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Okay.
yeah.
We-
Yeah. Okay,
We all, in the new noise ordinance, which I know is separate from the professional district requirements with respect to noise, but in the new noise ordinance, it does state that a violation can be determined based upon evidence provided, so you could take video or audio recording as well, and that can be used for consideration. And then just kind of a 30,000-foot perspective really quick, just so everyone understands. So we, as the council, are a policy-making board. We're not an enforcement board, so that's why we can't actually take any action for you. We've delegated code enforcement as a quasi-judicial body. The other option that other municipalities or counties do would be to have a special magistrate. So it would be like having our own judge who makes these determinations. But the way things that we currently have them set up, it's a code enforcement board.
Thank you, Brett.
all our town, and I just want
Thank you.
Does Chief have anything he wants to offer?
Chief, do you have any input on this?
I do? It's working. If you are taking photos and video, just, can you please forward those to police@indialantic.com also? That way, because that comes directly to me, and that way I can just kind of be in that loop a little bit also. Thank you.
All right, any other items? All right, public announcements. There are openings on the following boards: committee, budget and finance, service, code enforcement, pension board for general employees. Town hall will be closed December 17th from 11 to 2. Town hall will be closed Christmas on December 25th and 26th. And town hall will be closed New Year's Day on January 1st. Consent agenda, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
Second.
Second.
Brett did. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right. No public hearing, all right. Unfinished business, discuss the usage of Orlando Park half court. Who wants to open the discussion on that?
You seeking public discussion or council discussion? First, me? Okay.
Yeah, council.
Council discussion. All right, so recently repaved. You guys were on it quick there, Joe. I think it was the day after, 2 days after the council approved it.
That was quick.
You guys were out there tearing it up. Good job. Getting it all done in a very short time. So representing the Civil Public Works for Indialantic proudly with our work ethic there. So we put in a new concrete slab. Is that correct?
Sure.
And it's sized slightly lower than it was originally, with the ability, choosing my words carefully, with the ability to host a pickleball site if that was the desire of the town. There's been discussion about if we wanted to repurpose it, multi-purpose it, maintain it as a basketball court. So, thank you. So, really, it's a discussion that went to Parks and Rec, I guess, right before Thanksgiving. I was not part of the discussion at the Parks and Rec committee. I did hear that the committee overall was not in favor of the change. I can't speak to any of the specifics that were discussed. There are pros and cons to it. We'll just leave it at that. in terms of the puts and the takes. I know there's folks in the town that like to use it because of, while there are courts local, some of those courts are off limits time due to school being in session, the Hoover Field, or the Hoover Courts, if you will, as plus the usage rate for the ones down in Melbourne Beach, or, it's competitive, if you will. We have the two basketball courts. We want to take away something from the existing park. Ability. There's been additional concerns raised with regards to noise levels, which, as someone who has played pickleball, has, not myself, but have my kids had somebody complain to them about the noise after hours at a site somewhere not in Florida. I can understand that the noise from pickleball is not trivial, and there's some other concerns. But so, my personal opinion is, if we wanted to move forward in that direction, it would, perhaps Orlando is not the right location for it, due to its location and proximity within a residential zone. There are also other considerations and possible solutions.
Brett?
As I have the entire time, I live right around the corner. I think the noise is not going to be the issue that some claim it'll be. Just like the Starbucks was going to be this big disaster. That wasn't. Publix was going to be a big problem. That wasn't. I think this falls in the same category. I'm convinced that, and I'm 100% convinced this would be the case, if we didn't already have basketball and we were proposing to put basketball in, the same people would be coming up to complain that basketball is going to be a huge disaster. It's going to be parking issues. It's going to be real noisy. We have no issues with basketball, and basketball is more numbers as far as the people, especially during the summertime, as I've consistently said, when all the college kids are home. Because I live right around the corner. I pass by the minimum of twice a day to and from work, in between, so yeah, I mean, sometimes in the summer there's 15 guys there. Complaints, coming from that, or there being any issues, fights. One pickleball court. It's not like there's 4 of them. I could understand there potentially being a noise concern if there were multiple. This is just one, and there's no lights for it, so it's not like there's going to be this after-hour issue. It's going to be naturally regulated by, sun up, sun down. I think it's a community neighborhood park, for our residents. That I just think it's another amenity that's just nice to offer as an option. And we won't be doing away with the half-court basketball. So again, it's just providing another option. And I think us as townspeople can, go along, get along, make it work. I just don't see the big concerns. So, as I have been, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I don't think it, I think that, I guess in rebuttal to what you're saying about the noise, the basketball is a much lower frequency versus the pickleball. The pickleball, or a higher pitch noise, appears louder to the human ear. So, we all got emails from people on next one over to the north.
Orlando Avenue.
No, the next one over. Ormond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as well as Ormond.
Yeah. Anyway, people that aren't adjacent to the park, and they can hear the basketball. They weren't necessarily complaining, but they're saying we can hear the basketball. So if they can hear the basketball a street and a half away, they're going to hear the basketball even more. And people next door are going to have a bigger problem. Anyway. John?
Everything he said, it's a park, it's for recreation, so.
Gary?
I'm actually in favor of it, because I read the letters that, of those that weren't in favor of it, and I think if you're painting with the broad brush, it's no different than a park for kids. It's the same amount of noise level. I live 1 block from the new Publix. I wasn't impacted at all with an occasional Bar Harbor seafood truck coming down my street. I'm 3 blocks. Starbucks wasn't impacted by that 1 iota. I agree with Councilman Miller. I don't think I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think it's going to be a sound issue, a noise issue. And I think if it promotes our residents, because that's who it's for, is our town, I think if it promotes activity and exercise and it's something that's a vessel to get more people outside, I'm all for it.
So I'm curious to understand, how is this, what is the form, and I'm not for it, because I don't, from a long-term vision standpoint, if we're putting up a pickleball court, or are we keeping a basketball court? Are we doing a pickle basketball court? And I don't understand how that works and how it would be formatted. So that from my opinion, and I'm never wrong with the discussion, but what I'd like to see from a town council, and a town specifically, is if we do desire to do a pickleball court, then let's lay it out. What does that look like? What's the impact of rushing into a decision that says we're going to convert a half-court basketball court that's been there into a pickleball court? What does that mean? Do we solicit input from the residents with regards to that in terms of, is there a strong desire to keep that half-court basketball court as a half-court basketball court? And if so, do we then consider putting in a standalone pickleball court, i.e. converting the existing one, and then putting in another half-court basketball court? All these are just putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
Or do we consider an alternate location, Nance Park, for a pickleball court? That's a perfectly reasonable option. It has the real estate and it has a park. But it has other drawbacks to it, don't get me wrong. But I just don't feel the need that we need to make a snap decision in the last 2 months about we need to put a pickleball court in Orlando Park. We don't need to. We want to put a pickleball court as a town in Orlando Park, and that's what it's going to be. We have to look at the different options that exist on it.
So my question to you guys,
Because a timely decision, there is no forcing function from a timely decision standpoint. If we put a pickleball court in tomorrow versus June, it is still a pickleball court. And I agree that more time for residents to use it, but we've not had a pickleball court there. There are a decent number of pickleball courts that are, for the most part, available during the course of the day in a reasonable distance. So it's not like we're deprived. This is a more recency bias. So if I think it is more appropriate to be a little more thoughtful in how we're going to roll it out. And I don't think it's a huge number, but I would like to see the financial obligations that we would be committing to in terms of what does the net look like, because you don't have a tempering net. The net goes up, it stays up. How does that interact with a basketball court? Maybe it's simple, maybe it's not. I just don't know. I haven't seen anything presented in terms of what the plan looks like. And before I would vote to approve it, I would like to see that laid out, and then we can vote on it. Or again.
yeah, I think, I'll get to you in a second, Brett. Without question, if it goes in, there needs to be some type of sound mitigation, so. Hold on, Joe. Brett, you have something?
Yeah, a number of things. One, don't overcomplicate it just for the sake of that. Let's remember why we're doing this.
Well, I don't view it as overcomplicating.
No, it's not. I sat there patiently and listened to your long-winded speech. We're not doing this because we had this overwhelming need to create a new pickleball court. Because we had a planned maintenance that area needed to be replaced. And we had it budgeted. And so we did that. And when we said, okay, if we're going to do this, why not do it a little bit larger to allow for the possibility to do that? Right. So, because, some of the residents have raised the issue of, being stewards of our taxpayer dollars. So, again, this wasn't because we didn't spend this money unnecessarily. It had to be done, so we just made it a little bit larger. Now, I have a 2-year-old, I go to that park on a regular basis. That half court, it wasn't even really a half court, it was really just a big slab. It didn't have pointed lines. It didn't have like a 3-point range and like a base box. I mean, if it did, it was a long time ago and very faded. I mean, I think people kind of used it more for just turn, for a basketball game, like a full court game. The way I envision it, and I look forward to Joe, what he's going to provide us, but that it would be, the pickleball lines and such, the hoop's still going to be there so that if somebody just wants to shoot hoops, they can. They don't need, actual defined lines of a 3-point, top of the key and all that type of stuff, foul line, just to hang and shoot hoops until you're waiting for your turn. Also, I've never seen a excess amount of people to where it's there's an actual compelling need to have this extra space for the pickleball. And then I'd like, if this becomes, this is not like an irreversible decision if I go down this path. If it truly becomes a problem as far as disturbing people and the noise, which, you know, if it does, I'll certainly recognize that and respect that. There are things we can do, right? We can do the sound mitigation devices that you kind of put in, or we can just take the net out, repaint the top, you know, the blacktop area, and there's no more pickleball there. So it's not like this is a, you know, irreversible, extremely consequential decision if we actually provide this. I think give it a shot.
We can send them to you for the witch hunt then?
Which one for what?
When we remove pickleball.
Oh, yeah, sure.
My question to you guys is, you know, time is not of the essence, as Doug was saying, right? Is Nance Park or somewhere else a better than Orlando? If you guys had a choice.
I like the community aspect of Orlando and it being kind of more for our neighborhood folks, you know, and I don't think you go out of our way and spend a bunch of additional funds to create a whole separate pickleball area at Nance Park. That doesn't seem, and then if you put it at Nance Park, I mean, then it is going to become overrun with, you know, non-town residents, in my opinion.
Yeah. John?
What's stopping anybody right now? Because I've played pickleball, right, down at the base before they had the thing. What's stopping anyone right now from going out and getting a net and playing pickleball there every day?
Yep.
There's nothing stopping anybody from doing that right now. It's a park. It was made for recreation, you know? So, and the noise, I've read all the emails. The noise, to me, I go by, I run through that park every day. There's kids in there, and they're making a ton of noise. You bought a house close to the park. There are some consequences when you make a decision like that. It's like buying a house by an airport or by the railroad tracks. There are things that come along with that. I'm just saying, it's a recreation facility for the town.
Right.
And what he said is 100% accurate. This isn't the end of the world. They put the net in, we get a ton of noise complaints, we pull the net out. But as it stands now, I could go throw a net up there, because it's relatively inexpensive, and play pickleball all day long, because we got enough cement now to play it on. Without any other...
Right.
Yeah, whether we do it or not, yeah.
Carrie, do you have a preference over Orlando versus Nance if time is not?
I'm indifferent, but I would like to point out a couple of things about Nance. It runs 1A. We could literally take out that pavilion that's in disrepair that Rotary Club has already stated they don't have a budget to help us with repairs. That would be an alternate real estate place. That's also going to attract non-residents. And now, is it going to help with parking if they park there, or they can park at ABC, which is what they do now. The volleyball court is currently, there's a version of volleyball pickleball that you see at the park as well. They lower the net and they play, and tennis balls, and they play on the volleyball court, just lowering the net up and down. I think in Nance, it's going to invite people outside of our town to do it. I mean, is it a revenue maker? Maybe. Could we charge for it? Maybe. I don't know.
There's actually a recreational vending machine, believe it or not. I had a meeting with a guy. So you can put like a little kiosk in, and it has...
It costs money, though.
It does, but it generates money, too.
At Orlando Park, it's virtually going to not cost anything.
Right. You got more?
Again, I just don't understand the urgency. I mean, if you want to buy a net and play it, by all means, go for it. And we can have a thoughtful discussion, make a decision.
Joe, have you looked at sound mitigation?
I have not, no, sir.
Okay. Public comment. We have some pickleball here. All right, you got your hand up. We'll go with you.
Carol Andrew, 906 South Ramona. I've lived next to the park for 46 years. I moved in December 46 years ago. Carl moved in a little earlier. we've heard that. Well, first of all, I'd like to invite you to know what the pickleball court would sound like. They're rebuilding the house across the street from us on Ramona, intersection of Ormond and Ramona. We live next to the park. It's catty-cornered across from the park. And they're hammering on the roof a lot. It really sounds like a pickleball court. And I'm patient because they're going to be finished with the roof. And when people play basketball, they're going to be finished in a half an hour or an hour in Orlando Park. But to put something there that invites the bap during the day, or some place where a lot of people go just to shoot baskets. It's used a lot for that. We haven't complained about that in all the years. I don't think we've complained about anything. Maybe one thing, but I don't remember what it was. It was at midnight. It was the teenagers getting in the park and singing at midnight and drinking their beer. That was the complaint. Those were the complaints that we had. It is a park. It's a community park. It's a residential park, and it's a park for people to enjoy. It has a certain quietude to it, a sense of community. So I'd ask you to consider that as the most important point. In the 1981 comprehensive plan, it mentions Indialantic as being credited for having wonderful green spaces. Now that extra concrete really cut back a little, but this is one of our beautiful green spaces in Indialantic. So treasure that and consider that in your conversation. Do you have alternatives? A lot of people use the park, and most of them are making a lot of noise. The runners group was there about 2 weekends ago, and you could hear the music through our house. And I went over, and I could hear the guy talking to the people. He had a loudspeaker. I went over, it was 20 people around one person. So I went over and asked him to turn his speaker down, which he did. They could have heard him music without the speaker. Those are the worst kinds of things that we get in the park so far. It's a great place for little kids to run around. So kind of inviting people running back and forth and shooting and whapping at balls and stuff isn't maybe the best thing for the park. But as one of you mentioned, if you could actually convert it if you had your own net and stuff and go over and play. And it would be a temporary thing. It wouldn't be a permanent thing. It would cut back a little bit on any kind of maintenance for a pickleball court. So please consider the most important thing is it's a beautiful community park that people can go and enjoy sitting around talking. And it's a wonderful place, mostly for residents. People can visit. Our children enjoyed growing up there. They would meet friends, and we have, there are 4 generations of us who have enjoyed Orlando Park. So thank you if that's the timer.
Thank you. Dick? Where's Dick? Oh, there he is.
Dick Dunn, 330 Tampa Avenue. I think I'd like to break it into 3 things to think about. Number one is I think the residents around that area should have a large input on whether that go in or not, whether it bothers them, whether it's noisy and that type of thing. Second of all, that park is a local park meant for the residents of Indialantic, although other people do come to the park. Every day, I see strollers with young children in it. I see young children playing football, running 6 and 8 years old. And a lot of people go to that park for relaxation, to read a book, to meditate, and to be able to think without a lot of noise. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration, that park generally is used by the younger families with children. And I think pickleball, if they go there, pickleball will be distracting. The third thing is the park has been designated as a bird sanctuary. Twice a year, they have birds year-round, but at least twice a year, a stopping place for birds moving from the north, going down to the Caribbean. And then when the climate gets quieter and calmer, cooler, they might get back. There are a lot of people that come to that park just for the birds. And I believe their ear sight's a little better than ours. So pickleball might be a deterrent to them wanting to stay in that particular area. So I would like perhaps those thoughts you can think about. I would venture that the citizens around the park should have the big say-so. I don't know this to be true, I'm just throwing it out. Is it something that if it becomes too loud, does it to buy a home in that area saying, you know, I like the home, I like the park, but I don't like the noise interfering with my life. Thank you.
Big time, you dig. Paul, does the noise generated, does that play into the town noise ordinance at all?
It could, yes.
Okay. Are you Charlie Jones by chance? No, you're good, you're good.
Joe Chanda, 501 Boulevard. I'm basically catty corner from the park. Just want to touch on a couple things. First, pickleball, I do, but it is noisy. I know that from going to a place where we go a couple weeks in the summer. Lots of pickleball activity up there, and the residents complain, I know, a lot of times in the morning and the afternoon. In fact, they have rules where they change over the balls to rubber balls after 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I can't even remember. So I know from experience that that's a problem. Secondly, as far as the half court goes, I know that's been used a ton by younger kids. My kids, in fact, when the full court is packed with adults, you know, I played over there for 20 years, pickup ball. And in the summertime, when the college kids are home, you have 15 people waiting to play. And when the little kids can't get on the big court, you know, they go over and they play pickup on the half court. And as far as, I think you mentioned putting the half court, or putting the pickleball court at Nance and bringing in out-of-towners. A lot of basketball players coming from out of town to Orlando Park already, so I don't know that that's, you know, respectfully, I disagree with you there. So those are my main points here, but you know, I'm very concerned about the noise. What's going to happen 7 in the morning on Saturday when somebody wants to go out there and play before the heat? Around, are we going to call the cops? You know, because 7 in the morning, you hear that dink, dink, dink. I don't think you guys want that. I mean, I don't want to be woken up on a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock hearing the pickleballs. So those are my concerns. But
cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there Charles Jones? Right.
Yes, Charles Jones, 232 2nd Avenue. I'm a pickleball player, and but haven't played recently because of injuries. But I can tell you that pickleball courts are very much in demand, and people drive a long distance to gather up and play pickleball. And we get in lines and we wait our turn. And it's not just 2 or 3 people around the court. There's lines of people waiting to play the game. And they all have to drive in individually in their cars. I think you're inviting a problem here that your policy-making people haven't made the rules that need to be enforced to make it a viable opportunity for people to play in the area. You're going to have, like we had 40 minutes here before we started this meeting tonight. Excuse me, people asking you to consider what's happening in code enforcement. And the first thing is, you probably don't even have a code to enforce, and that's going to be something you forgot to do. You're just inviting problems to the town that we don't need by doing this enhancement, that temporary or whatever, it's going to be a problem for us. So I'd like to just state my opinion that you haven't really thought this through, and you're making a pretty bad decision to go ahead and make this change to the park. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, I think it's doing a disservice. I like pickleball. I think it should be at Nance Park. There's plenty of space. I even thought about Sunrise, but then you got it between the two condos, so that wouldn't be good, right? Especially, yeah. Is Jim here? I don't see Jim. Yeah, so we don't want to do that, right? But pickleball or Nance Park, it's wide open, and like Carrie said, there's parking revenue from it. So.
Yeah, I think some of the townspeople's comments are very helpful, because I think there's a happy medium that we can strike, and it's creating hours of operation, or even materials, because talked about a particular type of ball that can be used at certain points. I mean, I think hours is perfect, right? I mean, ask the residents that live in the area. It's 9 o'clock, 9 to 4, 9 to 5, say 9 to 5. Is that reasonable to them? I mean, I think, again, if we make this decision, it's not irreversible. And I don't like the idea of not doing something for a fear of the unknown, right?
I don't think it's
other things in town. I think we'll find that you do it, and it actually wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
But especially if we put appropriate rails in place as far as regulating.
I don't know if there's any unknown though, because there's plenty of studies that show how loud and annoying it is.
Yeah, that was within 100, and the closest house is 200 feet, and then they're going to be inside their house and be watching TV. So I don't really think they're going to be hearing it as much as they think they will.
It's 140 feet.
It's only one court.
140 feet.
I measured, at least per Google, it was about 200 feet from
Yeah,
the closest door to the very north.
Right. And they recommend 500 from the nearest court to a house.
Yeah, and courts are usually what, like at least 4 of them? Get a close one.
Yeah.
This is just one.
Last comment.
Carol Andren, 906 South Ramona, right next to the park for 46 years. We would not be inside our house watching TV. Such a loud noise if we're in a house watching TV. We're often outside on the bottom floor or upstairs. I can hear the people hammering on the roof, which sounds probably a lot like a pickleball lap, through the whole house. I can hear people in our house throughout the whole house. It's not this problem. It's just a sound problem. The way Carl's a sound engineer, he was, and we can do some some measurement if you like, if you want to do some testing. Thank you.
Thank you. How about we start exploring some sound mitigation before I mean, it's going to be a cost issue. That's purely all it's going to be. And enforcement, but if we did proper sound mitigation with some vegetation and the fence and all that kind of crap, then it's just which
I'm sure would be a cheaper option than putting a new slab in Nance Park and such.
Possibly. You guys open to exploring that?
I love conversation. That's been my going in position all along. I'm open for conversation.
So how about we table this decision? We'll have Joe look up some sound mitigation. You guys good with that?
I'm good with approving it as pickleball. The idea that we're going to put in reasonable regulations, that it's 10 to 5, and that we do sound mitigation. But I don't want to keep kicking the actual decision down the road on whether or not we're going to do pickleball.
I can't support making that decision.
That's fine. We don't need. Doesn't have. Yeah.
Fair. It would need to be discussed.
Wait.
Well.
Yeah, Joe, can you look up some of that? I saw a couple brands that were recommended by an expert and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Did you get that email from Ms. Pappas? Probably not.
Not sure. No.
We'll send it to you. It has an article from a pickleball noise expert.
It was actually in their title, believe it or not. It was.
Yeah.
Didn't know that was a profession, but okay.
Yeah. Any other public comment? None? All right. So Joe, you'll look that up? Yes, sir. Come back?
Yeah.
All right. Good with that? All right. Discuss the boardwalk project RFP. So that's what we'll do. Any comments on that?
Oh, I mean, I thought it was nicely written. I like the context it set in terms of defining and describing the town and kind of what we're, not being prescriptive, but being descriptive of what, we're trying to start the process. So I thought that was very good. The only thing I was looking for, and maybe it would be part of the expectations with the RFP process, was kind of when would we think the schedule, if we thought there would be like a start date that we're desiring to start and complete within the calendar 2025 fiscal year, 2025, and if there was this prescribed minimum number of work meetings that we wanted to have held, to provide that minimum that we expected. And then I think there was enough in there in terms about deliverables, what we get, but obviously that would be part of the negotiation and part of the proposal process. But overall, I thought it was a good
Brett?
RFP.
Yeah, I don't have anything additional, based upon the input that we've already provided.
Okay. John?
Nothing.
Carrie? All right. So do we want to, well, we have my dad. My dad was the author of it.
Was not plugging for you. I
Right.
just honestly.
He works for free at no cost to the town. Right.
More
We
important.
might have some other projects for you if you work for free.
Yeah. Dad, did you have anything to say? Name, address. Vince McDermott, 491 South River Oaks.
My name is Vince McDermott. I live just outside the town limits on River Oaks Drive. In the bottom of that, I know Councilman Wright at your last meeting suggested that you put the available funds in. So I plucked the number out. Might be a little light. I also had one of my former colleagues. I've been in this for 50 years, so I sort of been at this, mostly doing public work. The design part would be about $25,000. But the piece involving the public participation, which I listened to your last meeting and understood it pretty clearly, and to make it robust is probably on the order of $10,000 to $15,000. And I think that's worth it. Whether or not that number in, so everybody knows, or do you want to consider that when you're evaluating the responses to the RFP? It's up to you, but that's the order of magnitude that you're talking about. So a 3-week response time. This could be done. I think there was a concern that fiscal year was in when?
End of September.
If you got this out now, you could easily do this, depending on how much participation and the timing of the participation. But this project, if you draw it out, is more expensive because the consultant time is valuable. So I would suggest that you plan on a 6-month process because it keeps the juices flowing, unless there are some things, some other things going on in town that would preclude that. Stretching it out to 9 months would be okay, but it certainly can get done in that period of time.
Paul, did you have any input on language? Mike?
No, I looked at the written and everything.
Yeah. You don't have to say that because he's here, but.
I'll get the backstories about him later on from you.
Yeah. So, yeah, in terms of the figure in there, I'm either way, whether we put it in there or not, or we could put a not to exceed number, or that a target value, that way somebody could say they could offer, option A and option B. So there's a couple ways to approach it.
Yeah, that's your call.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because as I understand it, this is not a bid, this is a request for proposals
Proposal.
and have some flexibility
Correct.
to determine what's in
Good
your
point.
best interest and to reject
Yeah.
anything that comes before you that you don't like.
Yeah, so just to be clear, the number it's in the RFP was, did you consult with Mr. Casey on it at all? Okay, I just was curious, I wasn't sure.
Now, I really think that, as I said, I gave this to one of my colleagues, unknown,
Right.
and he said 35 to 40.
Okay. And I believe that's within what we have in the line item budget for this
That is-
particular
that
activity.
is
yeah.
correct. Yes.
Yeah, the challenge is going to be you don't have survey, and so they're going to be relying on best available data. You can get survey in the next phase, but so there's going to be a little squishiness in there, but at the end, I hope that you would get a good budget for you to take it to the next level.
The next level, wow.
Based on the concept that will have a price. So the numbers I heard a couple of meetings ago, I don't know where they came from or how accurate they are.
We do have surveys of the property down there, of the boardwalk.
You do?
And we just did it in the last year.
Between where and where, Mike?
I know
No, width-wise.
all of Nance Park, and they did the whole Wavecrest area.
Property lines included?
Yeah.
That should be added into the proposal, into the RFP.
We can provide that information.
That would be available, you will provide that.
Yeah,
in an
I'll
electronic.
I'll verify and get all the information from the town engineer, but we're doing all that surveying for everything on.
I think that's topographic or just boundary?
I'm, just boundary I know, but I can show you they have topographical. I know boundary they do.
Why don't I come by and take a look?
Okay.
And if you have that, then you should say that that will be provided, because that will make a big difference. And the boundary line, I think, if that's available on a map as well, all of that data will affect how accurate your plan, your concept will be, and also save some money.
Yeah, if I don't have it, I will get it from the town engineer,
Okay, let me know.
and I'll get with Mark to get your information.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Do you think it would be wise to state that, there should be a minimum of $10,000 for the public participation so that they have an idea ahead of time? Okay.
No.
See what they do?
A good consultant is going to
Factor that.
figure those in, and they should be giving it to you by task, and a cost task on a lump basis for a total lump sum. That's the best way to do it. They're going to take a risk, to some risk, say, I'm going to give you X meeting, and it will be this, 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 and this, and here's my cost for that. Now, if you ask for more meetings beyond after you've accepted it, then that's a scale up.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it would be helpful to set an expectation, just from the sense I wouldn't want to get a bunch of, and I trust your opinion on this, but I just want to get where they all say like $5,000 for public participation, and we're like,
No, I wouldn't do it that way. I would suggest that you let them make that suggestion. If you think you like someone because of, and they don't have something that you want, that's part of the fee, the negotiation fee. When contract gets signed, then you're on the hook.
So Mike, are you comfortable taking what we have and just adding the few things we've talked about and
Yeah.
publishing it?
And I'll run it by you, and also make sure Paul's okay with
Me or the council?
all of you.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Just send it out and see if he has the suggestions and things.
Okay, so we're not going to put on anything tonight as far as publishing it?
You could vote, with the changes acceptable and things that publish it, but it's not gonna be after January 8th, our next meeting, and it's really, with the
Okay.
holidays, we're not gonna get a lot done.
No, I
We'll
was,
gather all the information, like sure the surveys and things.
yeah, that's fine. I was going to suggest publishing it until after January anyway, so.
Yeah, so we have a meeting January 8th, so we can just move forward on January 8th with the updated.
Okay. Public comment, anybody? All right. You guys good? Yeah, you're free to go.
Unless he's at home.
No. Yeah. New business, discuss the town manager's goals for fiscal year 2025.
Yep, so this is something that I drafted up, I'll say a laundry list, some benchmarking against other towns, if you will, and thoughtfulness as to how Indialantic would use it, and bounce it off Mike. He added his own, a few things as well. So the intention here is really just to provide, thank you, folks, some benchmarks, expectations, if you will, that we can use when we go in at the end of the fiscal year, near the end of the fiscal year timeframe, we get pinged by the survey company to provide input and grade Mike's performance as the town manager. We can clearly, thoughtfully do it. In years gone by, the survey was fine, or the input was fine, it's just we didn't have a way to articulate it consistently across the council. Different folks wanted to grade on different scales, not complaining about that. It just allows for a little bit more consistent approach. The other, I took the opportunity as well to add in here the goal for Mike to provide once a year, January, February timeframe, proposed report dates. Essentially 2 report outs on the budget, actual versus planned, as we run through the year. And for my personal gain, being a little greedy here, is that helps me when we run through the budget process starting in the July timeframe, that I know what we've spent at January, February, March, or April, May timeframe. So when it comes July, August timeframe, I'm just 2 months offset. And so I thought it was helpful, and then when we get to the budget process, it will inform us as a council a lot more, so we're not having to go through the numbers. I know that sometimes is discovery, if you will. So other than that, I just, if we want to nitpick or move some things around as a council or wanted to add to it, I'm open to it. This was really just myself going back and forth.
Mike, you have any input?
No, it was Deputy Mayor, first time I get to say that, see? Working with him back and forth, it was, it define, there's never been like written goals, he's there, so it gives me boxes I can check and things, just like the budget, that's easy to do now with our new work software we have and things and updates.
Cool.
Brett? So this would, I'm assuming, kind of change on a yearly basis somewhat?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, because there's certain things in here that seem, like the Nance Park bathroom or something like that, it's not going to be every year, right?
Yeah, it was it's supposed to be topical.
It'll be in
yeah.
consultation as far as, these are the goals that we're going to create for this year, now let's see how, you measure to them. And then, so before we end up doing the review, I can't remember since first time, did we get like a report from you in advance, Mike? Because some, I think would still, without getting a report, it would still be being subjective.
Yeah.
Which is what we were trying to nip in the,
Yeah.
because, like, for instance, ensure Public Works is fully staffed and trained. I would know what fully staffed means, and so I would just be like, yeah, it seems like everyone's like, or we have.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So I don't want to necessarily specific numerically either, but if you had a report saying,
against,
I consulted with Joe, and this is, kind of what we needed or what we need. So place them with you know what I mean? Like, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, well then he's kept it fully staffed.
So in my experience going through the annual review processes with large corporations, exactly what you do. You have your goals at the beginning of the year. You've agreed to them. Then as it comes through annual review time, you go back and say, I met this goal by doing X, Y, and Z. And that would be perfectly fine if Mike just goes through and just writes down, yes, I did it, or this is the status, and that makes it very easy for us to do that. And then it's just important upon us as a council, and it's important too to recognize is this is just a starting point. If we want to add things in the middle of the year and we agree to it, that's fine. And then it allows us to have that rubric.
Yeah, and I don't want to create extra work for Mike, so I mean, it would really just be like bullet point stuff on. That's what I did. But yeah, I like it. I appreciate it. I think this is a good.
By all means, if folks want to add additional ones, I'm not trying to hog the stage.
Yeah, I mean, nothing jumps to mind.
I don't deal with anything like that at work, so. Yeah, did you crash? No. Pass.
You turn the knob.
And so far, I've made it every time. Anyway, John.
No input. I haven't seen it, so, but.
You have in the agenda?
I mean, is there a document or?
Yeah, it's just in the packet. It's in the packet. Okay.
It's also hard to understand from their perspective, because I didn't doing the,
Right.
you almost have to go through a year of doing it first to then even like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
I was like shooting in the dark.
Yeah, so what happens, just so you know, and Carrie, you may already know, but at come August timeframe, we get a survey that gets sent to our email that we do a web portal, and we grade Mike's performance, and then based on where we rate him on a scale of 1 to 5 comprehensively, then that automatically determines his compensation increase.
It's very similar to Myers-Briggs. Lots of similar questions that are slightly different. Answer them.
So this just
Yeah.
helps us grade his performance in a way that's consistent, and both ours and Mike.
Carrie, you have any input?
I don't, I read it, I actually did read it, and it is, I think it's, I agree with Councilman Miller. I think it's bullet points, and it's something that can be fluid, and it can add to it, take off to it, and I agree, we don't, he's busy. We don't need to take,
Right.
time away from him, but I think it's a good start.
Yeah, and like Doug was saying, I mean, like, you fill it out, and there's like nothing to, there's no baseline.
Yeah.
You know, you're like,
Right.
I don't know, I like Mike.
Yeah.
So.
It'll be easy to answer questions and just go through and, like I said, put bullet points on bullet points type of thing, and just little answers.
So I would advocate, or we as a council approve, that way we show consensus.
Yeah,
That way gives clear guidance to Mike that, that somebody's not harboring a difference of opinion.
All right, you want to do consensus or make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve town manager's goals for the government fiscal year 2025.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, well, we just question anybody added public comment.
Just to be clear, these aren't the only things we're working on.
Yeah.
Gabrielle Strand, 120 Ormond. So this is for his goals, correct? And not for the actual assessment that you guys are filling out. Am I understanding?
Correct. These would be, in the assessment, at least historically, there are categories that these align with.
Correct.
But it just says effectiveness is communication, those type of things.
I have seen that assessment form, and I would respectfully ask you all to perhaps rethink the form itself, because I don't know how you can be more excellent than excellent, which was one of the 1 through 5. And I think if you're actually going to be giving some constructive feedback, which I think you do, there's room for improvement on that form.
Yeah, and the form doesn't allow checking a box. Unfortunately, that point is well made, and I think as part of this initial activity, there were some different formats reviewed, focus more on the goals. So your point is well made.
Thank you.
Yeah, where do we get that?
Where did we get that form? That was approved by council prior to my time.
Oh, okay.
That was an approved form. It's very similar to what we use for other employees. There's a couple of different goals, but that's exactly how, from department heads all the way down to the part-timers and stuff.
We could make it a goal to have the improved self-evaluation tool.
Some of those ones I brought before you last year are very similar. Some were a score of 1 to 4, but they were almost very similar to what ours was. That's something, that'd be goal.
Yeah. No. All right. All those in favor, town manager's goals for fiscal year 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. All right, unanimous. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to skip the Dune line. However, I am going to put it on the record and say that whatever was hoping to be done was going to be in accordance with all state and federal guidelines via the permitting process. It's going to be Joe and a case of beer and a stump grinder. So that would be a good YouTube channel, I think, though. Anyway, sandwich board signs. I'm sure if you're on enforcement, you've heard about this. Some of the local business owners like them. They want them. Some of them get dinged for them. And as the packet says, I think the concern from the town attorney is possible, whose property is it on, and or does it cause a public safety hazard? So I just wanted to put it on the agenda and see what you thought, if we want to even discuss allowing sandwich board signs. So
Is there a particular area where this has been coming up, like on the business on the south side of Fifth Ave?
I think that's usually where it is.
It would help if that's the case, because then you can.
Who wants it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, right? I know some Indialantic coffee, they want one, and they had one out and they get dinged for it, but the neighbor has one next door that says like, don't buy her coffee or something malicious. It doesn't say that specifically, but there's a little competitiveness going there, and like he doesn't get dinged for it.
But we can't get into content though. That's
No, we can't.
All we can do is time, manner, place.
Right. No, and I'm not looking to moderate content.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying.
But that was one story. Maybe it happened one time. I don't know. Got a call.
I mean, I don't have an issue against the idea of sandwich boards. It's a particular like practical issue in the sense that, they want them on this sidewalk and the sidewalk's only so wide and it's right next to Fifth Ave and we're worried about tripping and falling into Fifth Ave, and then that'd be a consideration I'd want to know.
Right.
But if there's no such thing, then I don't see why we
Well, I think
just
that
didn't want to reasonably regulate them, right? Like maybe 3.5 high, 2 feet wide, something like that, right? I mean,
and we can do that, right, Paul?
8-foot sandwich board sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that stuff's easy to do.
Right. Doug, you have any input?
I know it's in the notes, but is it private property versus public right-of-way?
Mhm.
I know in some instances, there's plenty of private property to place a sandwich board. Other instances, there's not. So would it, and perhaps this is where town could go off, staff could go off additional data. Is that the consideration such that if we write it to be allowable in a private property, that it would still not allow other shops to have that because their frontage is public?
I think you get a variance in that situation, because then they're like unfairly prohibited from being able to comply. Potentially.
Yeah, but in order to get just to be clear,
I guess that's only with zoning.
well, but it's like you have to pay $250 to get a variance
That's
request,
fair.
and it's not, so that's kind of unfair burden.
Sort of hardships. But what do you think, Paul?
If it's a case where there's not sufficient private property, then the question is there sufficient public property without blocking the sidewalk?
Yep.
And assuming that there is, then the normal way to handle it would be to enter into some sort of right-of-way agreement.
Okay, so on a case-by-case basis?
Yeah.
It would be non-financially burdening other than just having to
Yeah.
work it out?
Is that
a specific area that we know that is the situation? Just curious.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. John, do you have any?
No, I just don't like the look of sandwich signs. I mean, that's a personal opinion. I just think it's cheesy, but that's just my personal opinion.
I don't like clutter. It's clutter.
Paul, are there major legal headaches?
Probably a practical one, and that is that obviously, as part of an ordinance, you'd have to require the shop owner to bring the thing in every night.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want to leave it out there overnight. And problems that you run into in some instances is you simply have negligent shop owners.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't care. The other issue is Councilmember Brady's out is, and Councilmember Foy pointed out is one of the criticisms of these is clutter.
I mean, we just went through the hassle of getting enough not to take down
Right.
20 of their 300 signs they put up on our street, so.
Yeah.
Seemed
That's something
counterintuitive in that light.
Yeah, honestly, I hadn't even considered that, so.
Lots of clutter.
All right. Public comment?
There we go. Long time no see. Lawrence Strand, 120 Ormond Drive. Did some homework on this. This one mattered to me as well. So our town has a residential character which we value, and we saw during the Fifth Avenue and the FDOT, that residents expressed concern over the clutter. We've just heard that come up again here. So it's important perspective in a highly residential area, and still that's the main focus of the town. It's worth noting sandwich boards are typically marketing tools, specials, promotions, and advertising, rather than the instructional and directional that you have for functional public purpose. And this distinction matters when we consider the overall look and feel of the town, marketing compared to things that are compelling us for safety. So sandwich boards could lead to the unintentional cluttered landscapes. For certain pedestrians, especially those with ADA requirements, I was thinking about it, the signs could pose obstacles, detract from the welcoming environment that we have. It's also fair to consider how this is a precedent. If a handful of businesses place signs out, not as cluttered, get that, but others may follow suit, and then you have enforcement becoming a greater burden, and that also is tax dollars spent on that type of enforcement. So businesses, while wonderful, aren't a primary source of revenue for our town. We should change aligns with our long-term priorities that you all set. Would this improve the overall quality of life for residents, would be my primary question to you. Or could it introduce unnecessary clutter without a significant benefit? And I tried to think of some alternatives. Perhaps you could have a digital or community-based alternative so they could utilize the town letters, online platforms, or shared signage in some way to promote the event. You could have small permanent signs or plaques with QR codes that pedestrians could scan, capturing that local foot traffic, with, and look up menus or other things on their phone without having a large sign out there. Perhaps you could use something like town-approved, non-permanent sidewalk decals. They're eco-friendly, weatherproof, to have special events or things. Again, it's not visual clutter driving down, but walking may be more interesting. You might choose to designate a small pre-approved area on private property where businesses could come along, have some sandwich boards or some other types of, again, not digital, but other display, and we've got to pay attention to the changeable sign copy. So I was thinking the heart of this discussion is the balance between supporting businesses and maintaining this residential charm in our streetscape that makes our town unique. So please consider whether the board themselves add a clear, tangible value to the residents, or if it's creating that visual noise that doesn't align with our community vision. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna let it die. Moving on.
Appreciate the ideas, though.
Huh?
Appreciate the ideas.
Yeah. Murals. This is I think there's two big questions, right? There's the legal of it, which I don't know if we don't need to dig into that until we decide we even want to look at it, right? So, under the assumption that we can control it, we can control how many, what they say, where they are you guys interested in entertaining murals? Doug?
Mr. Mayor, I think the town attorney has something to bring up too about, we do currently allow certain murals within the town.
Yeah, the memo is actually in error. Limited murals are permitted in certain areas of the town. For example, in the R3 district, which is along South A1A, you're allowed to have a 12 square foot mural. In the R district, you're allowed to have a 24 square foot mural. And in the C and C districts, you're allowed to have a 32 square foot mural. And murals are viewed, generally speaking, as signs.
And I guess I missed that part. When we were talking earlier, I thought you were talking about the memo from Mayor Alfrey. I didn't realize you were talking about my memo.
No, I'm talking about the memo.
I got you.
In the agenda package.
So
we did prohibit them at one time, but it seems like every 10 or 15 years, the council kind of revisits the issue of murals, and their last review of this, they decided that there would be limited permission for murals to exist.
Other than size, excuse me, are there any other restrictions on what can?
Yeah, from a legal standpoint, murals are subject to the same kind of regulation as signs are in that you can't regulate content.
So you said they're allowed in C and C1?
Uh-huh,
C1, R3, and RP, right?
and RP.
Because we used to have, the old the old Spectrum Surf Shop had the
Oh, right.
Yeah.
large jaws, which was more than 36 square feet, I'm gonna gather. And that was something we discussed at
And the
one
big
point.
wave.
Big wave.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just curious what restrictions we place other than size, but it sounds like generally speaking, nothing of obvious other than just no profanity and I think, although we don't even want to go down that road.
Yeah, you can't have something that's obscene or sort of, incitement to riot or something of that sort. But other than that, you can't regulate content.
But there's no approval process for that other than, do they have to come in and get a sign permit like they would for any other sign?
They're viewed actually under our code as being signs.
Okay. So we would know about it before, or we're supposed to know about it. Prior discussions. We're supposed to know about it, they're supposed to adhere to the code, And then the other general concern is just up, right? But that's normal, that's just falls under the normal keeps and building owners.
So I think the big problem is trying to legislate, right, what the content of it, which, as Paul has mentioned, is, it's all protected free speech. However, the city of Melbourne has found a way. Now, I haven't chatted with Paul about his thoughts on that, but if we could regulate that kind of stuff, do we want to look at expanding size or anything like that? If we can regulate the content of it, do we want to leave it as is? Doug, you have any thoughts? Or do you want to expand?
To leave it as is, but see prior discussion about, I'm open for discussion. If we have an allowance for them existing, I guess, until one bad actor, all it takes is one bad actor to run the show. So if we feel that it's necessary in terms of a quality of life standpoint, I don't feel that it's a big risk. So,
Brett?
I'm a huge proponent of the First Amendment, all aspects and clauses in it, and so I'm not interested in regulating speech and expression, even though it comes with an associated risk. That's part of the free society.
Yep. John?
Yeah, I think keeping things the way they are, seem to have been working. We do have murals in other communities. They're nice. If they found a way to do it, I'm sure we could if it becomes an issue, but if we've already got things in place that allow for it, as is.
Gary?
Just food for thought. A few years back, O'Galley Arts District did a contest of young aspiring artists, young and old, and they were voted on by the community and they went up. And most of them were thoughtful and pretty, and there were some beautiful seascapes of sea turtles flowing. And then as we drove across the ridge, there was a giant red and black Jaws shark that we looked at for about 3 years. And then that came. So I think if we did it as a contest or something that was voted on and then finally approved, I think that's an avenue that we can see it before it goes up.
Can't regulate content.
But if the town votes on it, we're not really regulating
Can't
it.
regulate, well, the town can vote on it, but if a property owner, if you allow murals and a property owner wants to put a mural up, they can do it. One votes against the content. It's free speech. That's the problem under the Constitution.
What are your thoughts on Melbourne's arts program? Did you?
as you know, I was city attorney in Melbourne
Mhm.
for quite a long time, and I got into some of those issues, and I have to tell you that where the program ran aground and when there was a problem that they really didn't know quite how to deal with, was with regard to a mural that is about 2 blocks of US 1 next to the fire station on the south side of O'Galley Boulevard. And there were a number of people when that was put up that were absolutely furious about it. You know, now I think people kind of accept it. You drive by it, and you know, if you drive down that road on a regular basis, you probably don't even think about it very much. But at the time, it caused a lot of public stir. I think the problem that you run into is this: if you view them as signs, which they are under our code, you know, are you going to allow additional signage so that somebody can put a mural up? And if you were going to change your regulations, would you allow murals to be larger in size than what they're currently allowed to be? I think those are the questions. As far as content, though, as Councilman Miller pointed out, it's a free speech issue, and you can't regulate content, you know, unless they put something up that's obscene. It's your ability to limit content is the same as it is with regard to any signage.
So,
It is, I will say one thing, and that is when you get in regulating or trying to regulate murals, it's a little bit of a slippery slope. And one of the reasons that it is that there is a federal case, a federal court decision that came out of Clearwater, which is in the same district that we're in, so it's binding precedent. And in that particular case, it related to a bait and tackle shop. And the owner of the bait and tackle shop decided to do a little painting on the outside of his store, you know, with a couple of sketched fish and some bubbles coming up and that kind of thing. The city of Clearwater tried to regulate it as a mural or whatever, and the federal court rejected that and said, no, it's basically just artistic design of the building. And the shop owner was allowed to keep his artistic design, if you will. So that's one of the things that makes it a little bit of a slippery slope. The other thing is, it's the same slippery slope as you have with any sign, and that is you can't regulate content.
anything else?
Unless there's a compelling reason to change, I think we let it
Yeah.
continue.
No, that's fine. Moving on. Dick, did you have a comment about murals? Or anybody else? Keep in mind, we're not changing anything. I don't know if that affects.
Dick Dunn, 330 Tampa Avenue. I kind of feel like I've seen this issue before. I think Paul talked about it about 6 or 7 years ago. I bet we debated this and go back and forth for 6 or 7 different council meetings. And then Paul came up with his recommendation that because of free speech, that it would be difficult to go to murals side of advertising your business in the same amount of space. So I would recommend or suggest, I would suggest that we ask our attorney's opinion. He gave the opinion. We accepted that opinion at the council and approved it. And I would suggest that we leave it like it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Moving on. I'm full of, what's up? Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to say one thing with it. I mean, if we do want to visit it, we just might want to visit the size that we permit. Because it looks like a mural of 24 square feet is allowed in R3.
I think in R3, it's 12 square feet. In RP, I think it's 24 square feet. In C and C1, it's 32 square feet.
Yeah, looking at our code right here.
32 square feet.
R3 multifamily district, one attached mural or painted sign. The area developed by the sign shall not exceed 24 square feet.
RP is 12.
RP is 12, okay.
Yeah.
And it says R3, 24. So that's like the townhouses on A1A. 24 square feet is pretty large. If people are worried about it, the way to go about it is to put it down to like 6.
comes in, they want to wrap their building with a giant marlin or something.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm just saying, if there is a concern about it, that is a non-content based way to, yeah, it's allowed, but it's only allowed at 6 square feet or 4 square feet or whatever you want to.
Well, I think the concern was actually opening it up to more, to bigger murals.
So, put it this way, like the way I envision it, mural in a commercial area, that seems appropriate.
Right.
But a mural in a residential area,
Right.
essentially, it seems odd.
Right.
So I'm thinking 24 square feet in a residential area seems,
Seems big.
yeah. Just putting it out there, I'm not saying we need to do anything about that.
I think the reason for that may have something to do with the fact that murals are considered to be signage. And, you know, you're allowing a painted sign that's 24 square feet.
I don't know why we would have a sign of 24 square feet for anything in a, that seems weird.
That's another question.
Yeah. I'll add it to my list of.
Your code review, yeah.
And R3 is
It's just
west
this
side of A1A.
West side A1A, 6th Avenue South. It's really just 6th Avenue South. It doesn't extend on the north side of 5th Avenue. Yeah. Okay.
All right, moving on. Let's see, I added this one too. Explicitly including cannabis/weed restrictions in the no smoking. So for anybody listening, we have no smoking ordinance, right, in the public parks and beaches, things like that. However, the cigar lobby, I don't know how many years ago, exempted themselves. So no smoking does not apply to cigars in public spaces in the state of Florida. So the reason I brought this up was Amendment 3, which was up for the vote in November. It failed. I'll be honest, I was in favor of it. I have no problem with the concept of weed, but I don't think any of us want to smell it, right? So do we want to explicitly state or include it in the no smoking ordinance that we have to get ahead of any potential, lobbying by the weed industry? At this point, there's no indication that they are doing that, but there's no indication that they aren't. So I just wanted to bring it to you guys, see what you thought. So I'll start down at the end. You got any thoughts?
I don't want to smell it, I don't want to be around it, and I don't want to see it.
All right.
I'd be in favor of.
John?
Like you, I have no problem with it, but it is annoying, an annoying smell. But I do have, and I don't mean to put the chief on the spot here, but is there any idea how many citations we're writing for smoking? Because as a former LEO, I can't remember writing any citations for people smoking, ordinance violation. So do you, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but have you any idea how many citations we're writing for smoking as it is?
We have any for smoking in the parks or the beaches.
So do you think that your opinion as a chief of police, having specifically written in our cannabis, is going to have any impact on enforcement or people being annoyed by the smell?
If you're asking about my opinion on this particular matter, I was in favor of not allowing smoking cigarettes in parks and beaches to begin with. So I'm certainly in favor of being preemptive and not allowing the smoking of cannabis in town parks or the beach. And it's coming. I mean, I know, it failed this time, but it is going to occur. I'm a realist, and I have nothing wrong with that, but I think it should be treated just like cigarettes with respect to cigarettes in public parks and beaches.
So I guess the question is, does the current ordinance cover that? Reading here, it sounds like it does, so.
Currently, yes, it would be included. I just wanted to get that in front of it, possibly, such as the short-term rentals, right? How 15 years ago, somebody had the great idea of not allowing short-term rentals before you couldn't allow short-term rentals. So my thought process was, do we want to explicitly outlaw it so that if it does become exempt, we can enforce that in our town?
But I guess the question is, can we enforce it now
Yes.
as it stands?
Yes.
So
as soon as if the weed lobby changes it, or if they're able to exempt it just like our lobby did, then we're out of luck.
Right, but for example, if someone's smoking clove cigarettes, they're smoking, right? They're smoking cloves. That's another annoying smell, right? So you could write a citation for that, right? Smoking clove cigarettes?
Yeah, it's actually, you can't be in possession of clove oils or anything, but, so, I'm trying to understand your question. If you say you have a medicinal marijuana card right now, you can't smoke in a public area anyway.
Correct.
Irrespective of whether it's in a park or not. So I think this is just a good preemptive measure to keep the smoke that's annoying, and that was the whole premise behind the cigarettes, going to baseball games and stuff like that, watching Little League baseball games play, and that sitting there and having a smell of that cigarette smoke. I think that it should carry over to the smell of cannabis or hemp smell also.
Okay, so I guess the question is, we would just align to the current ordinance saying that this includes smoking of cannabis?
Correct.
Okay.
The current one says tobacco product.
Brett? Or John, you have anything else?
No, could we just add cloves to that too, because they're annoying?
Well, apparently it's illegal anyway. Brett, you got anything?
So our ordinance right now is that you can't smoke in a public place, like a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
Tobacco products,
Right. It's not like a cigarette or a
except for cigars.
sailor's pipe. That's pleasant, see? On the flip side, my
Right.
dad growing up smoked a pipe, we watch the sunset.
Right.
Cherry, vanilla, it's very soothing. I understand the concern as far as, the annoyance and such, but again, I'm just kind of a proponent of limited government, people's individual liberties. So, I guess we already have the outlaw against tobacco, not necessarily regulate people's behavior outdoors.
Doug?
I'm with Carrie on that one. I just don't, maybe not quite to the extent, but that's fine. No, I don't want to smell it, so I would be all for including it.
Carol Angel, 906 South Ramona Avenue. I have COPD. I kind of like the smell when I was a kid. I grew up in a household where both my parents smoked. Both parents died from lung cancer. They were divorced, and their spouses also who smoked died from lung cancer. So I'm not a pro-smoking person. It's something you can do, and when nobody else is around, or if you're sitting next to me, I'd probably steal your cigarette and stomp on it. But I can tell you from experience, cigarette smoke really isn't a great thing. If you want to enjoy it, please. I don't want to enjoy it at the beach. And I do have COPD. My right lung is deteriorating, and it really started with this, the COPD, the overall problem with the cigarette smoke. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, do you want to make a motion? Or you want me to make a motion?
I will make a motion that,
Sorry. Yeah?
Lauren Strand, 120 Orange Drive. Thank you for putting this on, Mr. Mayor, and staying in front of it. I appreciate it. The town ordinance 2022-10 was a public health measure, right? We know that it wanted to reduce smoking in public recreational areas and create a cleaner and healthier environment for residents and visitors. I did spend some time reading it. It does focus on tobacco smoke, and that is what's called out. It also doesn't address vaping. So someone caught, so what are the implications? Someone smoking cannabis in a public park or beach could argue that the ordinance only targets tobacco products and does not apply to cannabis. For cannabis, if cannabis users were to challenge enforcement under this ordinance, I suspect the town would have to turn to state law, section 381-986, rather than the ordinance itself, which is a little tighter than what our ordinance has because it addresses more. Someone caught vaping a cannabis product in a public park or beach could note that ordinance only targets lighted tobacco products and that the vaping devices do not involve burning or lighting tobacco. So what would I recommend or suggest to you? I would amend the ordinance to include specific language prohibiting smoking or vaping cannabis in public parks. And then I would also encourage you to reference relevant state laws prohibiting the public to ensure the enforceability and consistency of this. I do understand there's some counter arguments to this, and I thought about what others might do too. Some cannabis users are medical marijuana patients using cannabis to treat chronic pain, anxiety, and other qualifying conditions. Restricting cannabis use in public could hinder the ability to access relief when needed. Also, restricting public cannabis may alienate tourists from states or countries where cannabis is fully legalized. So in conclusion, I'm still encouraging you to get out in front of it. I think it's a wise thing to do. Make sure that you look at vaping and make sure that you use the proper language tied in with the state, which also, by the way, with its stuff, while it does address cannabis, is mostly with tobacco use. Now, the one downside, of course, is if the lobby goes to the state and gets it done anyway, you know full well, like the cigar industry, they will preempt our local decision, which I don't agree with, but I understand the balance between state, county, and local reps. Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Something, John, you want to?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, well, 2 things, 2 points. One question, Paul, has there been any, we're aware of any legal challenges on the medical front to where, this is, no. We don't know. Okay. That's eventually going to happen, I imagine, right? I don't know. I don't think that'll be us. But then I do just want to warn that, this is a slippery slope in the sense of, the government regulating people's individual behavior. I mean, what are we going to do next? Like require that people take showers because it's offensive when someone's BO? I mean, I find that more, intrusive than, somebody's cigarette smoke that wafts off in the air and I can walk away. So I would just.
Can we put that on the next agenda?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just caution about that. That aspect of it, like, don't get me wrong, I find these things offensive too, but it's more from a philosophical perspective that I don't want the government involved in every part of my individual life.
I tend to agree with him, and vaping is concerned, vaping and smoking the flower are completely different. They're almost, you get the same effect, but it's a different process. So I think that we table a vaping discussion altogether, and if we want to include the cannabis smoke from flower, like we do tobacco, I think that, that might be acceptable, but, vaping is a totally different.
I don't know, is there secondhand vape issues, health issues?
I don't think so. The vape dissipates so quickly. It's not like cigarette smoke, cigar smoke, or clove cigarettes. I got to think with clove cigarettes. The vape dissipates very quickly, and there's no odor or very little odor. So,
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
so I've heard.
Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me come up one more time. Lawrence Strand, 120 Ormond Drive. I would politely disagree. You can look at the Journal of the Association, International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, Canadian Journal of Public Research, and interestingly enough, the Journal of Cannabis Therapeutics. All of them talk about vaping cannabis does significantly reduce harmful emissions, but doesn't eliminate the secondhand exposure to aerosol and other chemicals that come out. Granted, there haven't been any long-term studies yet, although even if the cannabis industry is looking at it very carefully, you've got journals and you can use ChatGPT or whatever your favorite tool is, and you will find a range of things that do talk about emissions coming from vaping, while not as detrimental, are still a good question, including the reputable journals I've cited.
Thank you. Paul, if we were to add weed to our no smoking, and at the state level, they're able to, they successfully lobby and exempt, just like the cigar industry, would we be grandfathered in?
Not unless the legislature specifically so provides. And that's the distinction between the situation with your vacation rentals. When the legislature decided to preempt the regulation by local government of vacation rentals, one of the things that they did is specifically in the state law, they grandfathered in any local government that had already decided to regulate vacation rentals. And I'm not sure, but I think Miami Beach might have been the primary mover in that. We just simply benefited by it because we'd had our ordinance in effect probably about 4 or 5 years before the state decided to start preempting.
Doug, were you in the middle of making the?
Yeah, I would make a motion for the town staff to draft an ordinance to add the smoking of marijuana or other cannabis-related products.
Hemp.
Like hemp, yeah, hemp and clover, if that's as needed, consistent with state statutes, cross-referenced as part of the ban with smoking in public spaces within the town of Indialantic.
Is there a second? Anything else to add from you guys? Public comment? Having the mic, Chief?
I do. So just a little bit of history on the smoking in public places. You're going to have a lot of teeth with that, and bringing this in with cannabis also, because I was on the Florida League of Cities Municipal Committee, and the smoking ban was one of the top 3 things that we discussed. It was championed by Mark Ryan, the former Beach, and it was overwhelmingly supported by the Florida League of Cities. So I think this in, if it comes up with any type of challenges or anything like that, I think we would be on the forefront of setting the standard, maybe for other cities, municipalities that go, aha, let's do the same thing. So I think that you'd get good support by the League of Cities, I think, on this.
We're trendsetters. All right. So that was seconded. Public comment, anyone? All right, we had our discussion. I'll put it to a vote. All in favor of approving the town staff, whatever Doug said, research cannabis, or adding to the current restrictions for no smoking in public parks and beaches, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
All right, 4-1.
Opposed? Nay.
It is nay. Yeah. John, you were in favor, right? Yes. Okay, 4-1. All right. Yeah. Paul, you got anything for a report?
I do not. I would just comment, since we have new council only put it out when there's been actually some sort of action on litigation that's pending.
We actually got the last report. John and I both did.
Good.
Mike?
Except for the Sixth Avenue thing, and I just want to invite council having a town luncheon. What time, Molly, on next Thursday?
11 to 2.
The town luncheon. I think it's 11:30.
It was closed
We-
11 to 2, I think it was the town hall, rather.
We, with all the employees and stuff, and we have covered dishes, and like I purchased the ham and turkeys and everything.
Cool, thank you. It's the 17th, 11 to 2.
Next Tuesday, right?
I have no idea.
Tuesday, yeah.
No.
19th.
19th.
Thank you, Molly.
Say the 17th
Straight.
there? That's for a different reason.
Oh,
Closure.
so this closure's for something else.
Yeah, we're closing, I take staff to a luncheon
Oh.
outside.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
All right, Doug, anything?
I won't steal your thunder with the Christmas tree lighting, just say kudos to staff. I do want to highlight, I don't know the response time, but I know that recently there was a fire at the 200 block, and it was about midnight-ish, and the fire department, I'm assuming, was there as well as any of our other first responders, lickety-split. I don't know what the response time was. And the fire was contained within the garage, no serious structure damage, and certainly no loss of life or anything else. We all probably recall the tragic Melbourne Beach Christmas Day fire from several years ago, where there was a loss of a house, a complete house. Luckily, nobody died except the family dog, which is tragic in its own right. But again, I think it just foot stomp the benefits of our, while we certainly all appreciate not having higher taxes, we do have a top-notch police force and fire department, and we reap the benefits of that with top-notch service. So again, thank you to fire chief and the police chief for their service and their dedication to their staff. So please spread that along, and Merry Christmas to everybody, and happy Hanukkah.
Well said. Brett?
And let's not forget the police department's community involvement. So leading to that, everyone, the golf cart parade, holiday golf cart parade, Friday, December 20th. We're meeting in Orlando Park at 5:45. Best decorated cart judging starts at 6:15, and then we'll be rolling out at 7. But if you don't have a golf cart, it doesn't matter. That's what I love about this event. Please come to the park, hang out. It's really fun socializing with the neighbors. And this aspect of it has continued to grow and evolve, which I really love. It's people having block parties on the parade route.
Where can we see the parade route at, Brett?
It's on Nextdoor and Facebook on the post and the town website. Yeah, we've been and the town's Facebook. We've been hitting it all angles and Melbourne Beach. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't have a block party to go to, just crash one. I'm sure those folks would love to welcome you in and meet some new neighbors, and it's a great time. So.
First time I was ever in the back of a police car was last year. Yeah. Well, Melbourne Beach gave me a ride home. Yeah, no, there were no handcuffs. John, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Christmas tree lighting was awesome. And I just want to say those bathrooms up at Nance Park, fantastic. They look awesome. You guys did an awesome job. The blue color looks fantastic. They look really nice. That, in addition to new showers, it looks like we're coming into the 21st century. So awesome.
Carrie, welcome.
I don't have anything, but I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate the warm welcome.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.